Are you a good person? You don't steal, you don't hurt people, and you follow the rules. And now you look at history, at the brutal tortures, public executions, and Roman colosseums, and think, wow, ancient humans were absolute monsters. I could never do that. But did you know that psychology and history share a dark, terrifying secret? You are not inherently better than the people who built the guillotine. You have the exact same brain as a medieval torturer. Under the right circumstances, it takes very little effort to turn you into a monster. To understand how easily your morality can be stripped away, we must look at the infamous 1971 Stanford Prison Experiment. It was meant to be a 2-week experiment, but it was shut down after just 6 days. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo took 24 healthy, empathetic college students with no criminal records or history of violence. Half were labeled guards and half prisoners, then locked in a simulated basement prison. The good college students, playing guards, instantly transformed into sadists. They stripped prisoners naked, put them in solitary confinement, and forced them to clean toilet bowls with their bare hands. When you give a human a uniform, a title, or a mask, you strip away their personal identity. This happens because of a psychological phenomenon called deindividuation. They stop asking if an action is right or wrong, and they just play the role. When a person feels anonymous within a system, their individual conscience goes completely silent. But maybe you think you're stronger than a uniform. Stanley Milgram proved otherwise. In the 1960s, he ran an experiment where everyday people were told by a scientist in a lab coat to deliver increasingly painful electric shocks to a stranger in another room every time they answered a question wrong. The shocks weren't real, but the participants believed they were. As the voltage went up, the person in the other room would scream, beg to be let out, complain of a heart condition, and eventually go completely silent. Before the experiment, psychiatrists estimated that less than 1% of people, only true psychopaths, would go all the way to the maximum lethal dose of 450 volts. The actual result? 65% of ordinary citizens pressed the lethal button. They sweated, they trembled, they bit their lips in distress, but when the man in the lab coat calmly said, "The experiment requires that you continue," they kept shocking. This is the agentic state. When a trusted authority figure takes responsibility for your actions, your brain abdicates its moral duty. You stop viewing yourself as independent and become an agent of someone else's cruelty. This brings us to a massive realization about human history. If it only takes a lab coat or a uniform to turn a normal person into a monster, imagine what happens when there are no rules at all. For 99% of human existence, we lived in small tribes. But as the population grew and we built the first cities, we ran into a massive biological problem. The human brain is highly susceptible to tribalism and chaos. Without a system, human society rapidly devolves into a real-life Universe 25. This is why ancient societies didn't just create laws. They created terrifying, unforgettable punishments. Take the Code of Hammurabi from ancient Babylon, famous for an eye for an eye. If you built a house and it collapsed, killing the owner's son, your own innocent son was executed. To modern eyes, public executions look barbaric. But to ancient rulers, they were the only thing stopping the monster inside every citizen from breaking out. They knew that if the consequences of breaking the social contract weren't visibly, terrifyingly horrific, human order would immediately collapse into bloodshed. The brutality of ancient justice wasn't a product of random cruelty. It was a desperate, heavy-handed cage built to keep the latent human monster locked away. We like to think we've evolved. We have courts, human rights, and digital laws. But the terrifying truth of psychology is that civilization is incredibly fragile. It is a thin sheet of ice over a deep, dark ocean of primitive instincts. The monsters of history didn't look any different than you do right now. They loved their families, they listened to music, and they thought they were the heroes of their own stories. So the next time you read about a horrific historical event or an ancient punishment, don't ask yourself, how could they do that? Instead, look in the mirror and ask the real question. Given the right uniform, the right authority, or the right breakdown of society, what would it take to make you do it?